Production of A Good Read on Maine PBS is made possible in part by the Verizon Foundation, supporting literacy programs and partnerships reaching adults and children across America on the web at verizonreads.net.
Oh, when I get up in the morning, I would much prefer to jump aboard my boat and deal with the nastiest bait in the world than sit down with a pen and try and write something. It's just agony for me. Too many miles of sea lay between the island and myself. The same miles that I have sometimes regarded as a buffer zone felt like a barricade. I have taken life and living from the sea and have given the same back, I suppose.
The ocean has inspired many Maine writers, but few writers know the sea as well as Linda Greenlaw. Hi, I'm Sandy Phippen, your host of A Good Read. Linda has been a commercial fisherman for the past 20 years, frequently working 1,000 miles offshore. But after being described as one of the best captains, period, on the East Coast in the best-selling book The Perfect Storm, her life has not been the same since. She became a celebrity, and her own first book, The Hungry Ocean, catapulted to the New York Times bestseller list and stayed there for over 6 months. You could call Linda Greenlaw an accidental author.
People are generally a little surprised when they ask me about the Perfect Storm. My life was changed more with the publishing of the book The Perfect Storm than it was by any ocean storm I've ever encountered. The way that my name was mentioned in The Perfect Storm and the book did tremendously well, I started getting a lot of attention from the media. I remember getting in from lobstering one night. I had a message on my answering machine from someone at Simon & Schuster saying, "Oh, you know, we read The Perfect Storm. We're very intrigued with this female fisherman. Do you want to write a book?" And I thought, well, that was odd. And then within a week's time, I had calls from 2 other publishers. Fourth call I got was from the author of The Perfect Storm, Sebastian Junger, asking if it was okay if he gave my phone numbers to some people who are interested in talking to me. And I said, "Hey, man, you can't believe this. I'm getting calls from publishers." He convinced me that I needed to get an agent, which I did. I called his agent, who seemed to be expecting my call. His agent suggested that I write a 4-page proposal, which is 4 or 5 pages, a writing sample, including things that I would like to include in a book. Obviously, I got the opportunity to write my book because I was approached by people who read The Perfect Storm. Right. People knew of me from reading The Perfect Storm, so I had to make that connection. This is why I am writing this book.
That's right, that's right. Now, did Sebastian Junger, did he come up here to interview you? Did he come up here to Maine?
Yeah, Sebastian Junger met me in Gloucester on 2 or 3 occasions and met me in Portland, Maine one time. He originally wrote a magazine article about the storm and the Andrea Gale going down. And then I guess the magazine article was seen by his publishers and he was hired to write the book. Right,
that's right. It grew into the sensation. What about the movie? We might as well, we're talking about this. You must have seen the film.
I was. Actually, I was given 20 tickets to one of the premieres. It's a black tie event. It was a great deal of fun. I took my friends and family to this Hollywood premiere. It was a blast.
Was this in Gloucester? Where it was
premiered? It was right outside of Gloucester. And it was quite an event. It was a really strange experience watching somebody portray you at a big screen, you know, Warner Brothers production. It was very exciting, but definitely a weird one.
Did the actress get you right? I don't remember who played you, but whoever she was.
Her name was Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio. I was very pleased with the way they treated me in the movie. I literally begged Warner Brothers to play myself, but they wanted a real actress. Right. God knows why.
Did she get in touch with you? Did she?
I met her in Gloucester when they were filming there. Everyone involved in the Perfect Storm movie read The Hungry Ocean as part of their homework. So my book has more detailed about the fishing and the crew.
That's right.
So it was sort of their homework assignment to read my book. So when I showed up in Gloucester, it was kind of neat. All the actors and actresses wanted my autograph. I was like, wow, this is cool. George Clooney wants me to sign his book. And I felt like a real jerk after when I left. I said, oh my God, Mark Wahlberg, George Clooney, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, all asked me to sign this book. I never asked any of them for an autograph.
That's great.
Opportunity lost.
That's right. Yes, it is. Now, back to your own book. Some people think your book is better than Perfect Storm, certainly about being a sword fisherman.
Some people think that. You want to say that again? Don't cut that part.
It's true. What was it like to become a best-selling author?
Well, I was at first thrilled just to have accomplished writing a book and having it published. To have it be a bestseller was very gratifying, and of course made me very happy, and that's the only reason I'm writing another book, because the first book did so well. So, okay, I'll try it again.
So this is really your new life, basically. Would you describe yourself now as a writer who fishes or a fisherman who writes?
Ooh, good question. I would prefer to describe myself as a fisherman who writes, because I've spent so much time fishing, and writing is still a very new life for me. But I suppose if I had to measure it in dollar bills, I definitely would have to say I'm an author who likes to fish.
Had you thought of writing a book earlier, when you were in college, when you were an English major?
No, I never ever dreamed that I would write a book of any kind. I never really did any writing except for in school. I didn't take any creative writing courses, and probably the biggest reason for me majoring in English was that I did have some confidence in my ability to write. I didn't take many math and science courses because you had to have a right answer. Anything with an essay, I could skate through. I actually had blue book exam booklets passed back to me with comments on the outside from the professor saying, you were pretty unfamiliar with the material here. Well written, B+.
Oh,
so,
that's how you got through school.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the ability to write can get you out of a lot of scrapes, I think.
Let's go way back to the beginning, though, again now. When you were growing up, did your parents give you Maine children's books that were about fishing at all? Did you have, like Bert Dow, Deep Water Fishing Man by McCloskey, or Lobsterman by Davlov, Ipka, I think it is?
I think I read all the typical children's books when I was a kid. We always had children's books around. My parents have 4 kids. So we always had all the, typical kids' books. I grew up with Dr. Seuss and things like that. I don't think I really started reading fishing books until later in life. I mean, Moby Dick and Captain's Courageous.
Okay, all right. But not about Maine particularly, like Ruth Moore's books about Gott's Island?
No.
Elizabeth Ogilvy's books?
No.
None of those at all? Fishing books in general, picture books that showed Maine fishermen?
I'm sure we had those around. I mean, we lived in Maine.
Yes. But they didn't make any.
I'm not doing a good job with this one, am I?
Didn't make
Sorry.
No. I'm just curious, because I'm always curious about how people how they end up where they do and so on, and where it came from, any inspiration along the way and so on. Who were your favorite writers?
My favorite writers are Ernest Hemingway, Pat Conroy.
Oh yeah.
Those are my 2 favorites.
Describe when you first got sea fever.
Oh, I think the first time I realized I had sea fever, I was a very young girl.
Was it right here on Robinson Cove?
Yes, it was. It was right on the beach here in front of my parents' house. I was a summer kid here and just sort of woke up one day and discovered the ocean and spent all my summers trying to catch anything that swam or crawled around our home.
When did you first go out on a boat, on a lobster boat?
Oh, I didn't start lobstering until very recently, but I first started commercial fishing at the age of 19. I needed a good summer job to help pay my way through college. And I got a job as a cook on a sword fishing boat, and that was my first commercial experience.
And that's how you worked your way up to being captain from that time on?
I literally fished my way through school. It was a great summer job, and after I graduated from Colby College, I told my parents I was going to be taking 1 year off before going to law school. The famous 1 year off story. They fell for it. Several years later, they were still urging me to get a real job or go back to school, saying that I was wasting my education.
Okay. Now, you grew up, though, you went to school in Topsom?
I did. I went to school in Topsom, Maine, elementary school and high school. I went to high school at Mount Ararat, and went to college in Maine, also Colby College in Waterville.
Why Colby? Why did you pick Colby?
Well, I applied to 3 schools. Colby was the only one that accepted me. I suspect that's because I had a pretty good family legacy. I had a lot of family that went to Colby.
Did your father go to Colby?
Yeah, my father, my grandfather, a great aunt, 2 or 3 uncles.
And you majored in English and government, I believe?
That's correct, English and government.
How come that combination?
Well, at the time, English and government was about the best combination I could come up with that was close to pre-law. I thought I'd be going to law school. It seemed like a good goal at the age of 18 when you have to declare your major.
What changed your mind?
I'm sure it was fishing that changed my mind. After I made my first trip fishing, I knew that I'd be fishing for the rest of my life.
So what did your parents think when you became a fisherman? I mean, people in your family.
My parents didn't think much of it at all. It was a pretty good idea when I was making money for college. But after I graduated and continued to fish, it was terrible. I think my mother in particular found it embarrassing to introduce me to my daughter, the fisherman. That's not something parents want their children to aspire to. It's not something you'd wish on your children.
Were they also scared for you? Because it is dangerous.
Sure, I mean, that's always a factor. My parents spent a lot of years worrying about me. They didn't hear from me for 30 days at a time. You know, we're out for 30 days. We fish swordfish on the Grand Banks May through October. It's hurricane season. My parents are pretty smart people.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, they were worried and had reason to be worried.
Yes, of course. And then after that, for those years, you would go in the wintertime down to Puerto Rico and Brazil.
I spent some winters fishing in the Caribbean. I spent some winters fishing in the Gulf of Maine. I've fished really all over the North Atlantic Ocean, different times of year, doing different types of fishing. In
fact, you said, I think you said in the book, that you did fish the Grand Banks every month of the year at one point, or you had that experience every month.
I have fished, yeah, I have fished every month of the year on the Grand Banks at one point or another, doing different types of fishing.
Now, in your book, there's so many ways I want to go with this, but I want to talk about how is writing harder than fishing. At the end of the book, after you go through this wonderful story of fishing and you start writing the book, you say writing is harder than fishing. How so?
Well, I think writing and fishing have a lot of things in common, and that is that it's a discipline. It's something you have to do every day, and I think to write well or fish well, you have to eat, sleep, and breathe what you're doing. And maybe that's true of other things, but the only things I've ever done are writing and fishing. For me, writing is more difficult. They're both probably equally difficult types of work, but the difference is I enjoy fishing, and I do not enjoy writing. It makes it that much harder for me to do it.
Why not? Like getting up in the morning and you've got to write a chapter.
Oh, when I get up in the morning, I would much prefer to jump aboard my boat and deal with the nastiest bait in the world than sit down with a pen and try and write something. It's just agony for me.
How did you write The Hungry Ocean? Did you mentioned getting your logs, you got your logs, and you have your memory, obviously, but did you go back and interview all those people that were on the boat?
No, I really don't remember interviewing anybody for The Hungry Ocean. I'd been fishing at that point for 17 years. Most of my experience had been sword fishing. I didn't know that I was researching the book at that time because I didn't have any intention of writing anything. But 17 years doing the same thing and being really engrossed in that life, it was, I guess, in a way, research. I had so many stories to choose from that I was fortunate I was able to choose my favorite stories for the book. Couldn't use them all, obviously.
Is it a composite? I mean, the way you put it together, in case people don't know, you talk about the one sword fishing trip, but interspersed throughout it are mug-ups, what you call mug-ups, where people used to have a mug of coffee with each other and talk, where you go back into the past and fill in things.
Right, so the book is somewhat of a composite of different trips and different phases of my life. But the outline of the book is basically one specific sword fishing trip that I made aboard the Hannah Bowden. The reason I chose that particular trip to write about, well, I guess is twofold. I didn't want to write a book about bad weather. The Perfect Storm had already been written. Mm-hmm. I wanted to write more about the crew, interaction between captain and crew. I wanted to write a book about good fishing. That was a trip that we did well. I couldn't imagine sitting down every day and writing a book about bad weather and poor fishing. I wondered on our fourth night, while passing south of Sable Island, if ghosts had the emotional capacity for envy. Many souls of seamen lingering in the graveyard of the North Atlantic might resent this elated crew and captain's journey home. How many ghosts of men residing here were once in our exact situation, happily returning to port, triumphant, laden with fish, desperate to see the first lights through the windows of kitchens and bedrooms in the homes along the shores of Cape Ann. Pining away for wives and lovers, the men must surely have felt twinges of excitement in both hearts and groins for what their lives had been lacking during their days and nights at sea. Then, without warning, some disaster had struck, foiling all anticipated unions, plans for reunion, and indeed ending life itself. Creepy, ain't it? Carl asked, his voice just above a whisper as he gazed out the starboard window toward Sable Island, his eyes as black as the night.
Why did you leave the whole business of sword fishing after 17 years? Was it 17 years total?
Yes, I left sword fishing for a couple of different reasons. One, government regulations were making it increasingly difficult to make a living year-round sword fishing. So the owner of the boat I was running rigged the Hannah Bowden over for something called red crabbing. It's fishing for a very deep sea crab. I didn't like the work. And the other reason that I left sword fishing was, I think, it's either an age thing or a female thing or a combination. At the time I was 37 years old, not married, no kids, wanted very much to start my own family. And sword fishing, it wasn't happening. I'm gone for 30 days at a time. So I thought it would be better to come home and at least be based somewhere.
Are you the only American captain of a swordfish boat, woman captain?
I hate to say that I'm the only woman who has captained a sword fishing vessel because I don't know that. Swordfish are caught in every ocean. Almost any country that has a fleet of boats has sword fishing boats. I'm the only one that I have ever known of.
In the United States.
Right. Well, I don't know. I guess probably.
Well, we don't know till you're right. I mean, women used to go with their husbands on the ships in the old days, too. I don't know,
sure. Somebody sent me a book called She Captains. And it's an entire book of women who have been captains of different types of boats. And now there's this calendar out, women lobster fishing, what was it, Lobster Fishing Women of Maine calendar.
Yes,
and I think people are surprised that that they were able to come up with enough women, you know,
for 12 months of the year.
One for each month. I think it's on the increase. I think one of the things, fishing isn't something that most young women consider an opportunity for them. It's just not in the realm of possibilities. But through the Perfect Storm and the Hungry Ocean and this calendar, I think more young girls will realize that it's doable.
Now, your new book, that leads us into, of course, the new book you're working on. The second one is about lobstering, and you have no title, right?
I have no title. God, I wish I did. Seems to be, it's so difficult to come up with a title because, you know, it's the first thing someone sees when they go into a bookstore is the cover of the book with the title on it, and you just want the title to be perfect. And I love the title of The Hungry Ocean.
Yes.
Because it really fits the book.
Was that your choice?
It was my first choice. I didn't come up with it. My editor and I went back and forth with lists of titles, and the title actually was thought of from by an editor of a British publishing house that bought the rights of The Hungry Ocean very early on. And The Hungry Ocean is from a Shakespearean sonnet.
Yes.
I've learned through the course of my book tour that the title means different things to different people depending on where I go. But to me, The Hungry Ocean refers to the ocean's ability to totally consume. I've been fishing for 20 years. I've been consumed by it. I know it sounds cliche to be drawn to, taken with, and ultimately consumed by something you love.
That's right.
But it's very fulfilling.
Right.
As proud as I am to be introduced as a best-selling author, nothing makes me prouder than saying I'm a fisherman.
I know that another angle would be that there's a lot of eating going on in the ocean too. Big fish, little fish.
Exactly.
The whole
I mean,
business.
it's a very, it's a rich title. It means many different things.
So are you looking to Shakespeare for another title?
I have been, and I haven't been able to come up with anything yet. I'm
Back
a little
home in
torn
Maine,
right now.
Back home in Maine lobstering?
Right. The book is really actually more about coming home after being gone for 17 years than it is about lobstering. It's going to have a lot about lobstering in it because I'm living on an island where lobstering is a way of life. Island economy rotates around lobster fishing.
That's right. Now, how has your life changed since you came home and became a lobster fisherman?
Well, my life is much more peaceful now. I don't want to say that lobstering is boring, but it's not as exciting as a life offshore fishing where weather is a factor every day, and you're talking about much bigger numbers financially invested in every trip.
Right.
Lobstering,
and land isn't in sight. You're
exactly.
out there alone. You're on
right. You know, sword fishing, you could be 1,500 miles from the dock. Lobstering, you're very few miles from the dock with a fast boat, never more than a few minutes from home.
And you have a stern man and your father, right?
Yes, my dad is my stern man. In fact, my dad was a captain the last couple of years. I've been on book tour, so my father's taking care of the boat and my traps for me. He's hired a stern man, but I'm back this year.
So how do you work it with, do you write every day?
I try to write every day, and I should write every day. That seems to be key. I'm in the process of missing my third deadline right now for the second book, And it's because I have not been disciplined enough to sit down every single day. I've had these other obligations. I'm trying to lobster. I've been on a lecture circuit. I've just been doing a lot of interviews and things like that, which is all a great deal of fun, and a lot more fun than actually sitting down and grinding out another book.
Did you actually enjoy the tour? Some people, writers, don't enjoy those tours.
Well, I hate to complain about book tour because I hear other authors, saying how grueling a book tour is, and I'm thinking secretively, oh my God, go fishing for a month. Actually, I felt like I was getting spoiled rotten on book tour. You get off an airplane, and you're greeted at the gate by somebody holding up your book. Oh, and a very nice person. They're the media escort, taking you around to all obligations in whatever city you happen to be in. People seem genuinely interested in meeting you. They're very nice. The biggest, probably most important thing about the book tour is meeting the people who sell the book in the bookstores. And, if they like you, it's sort of human nature to want you to do well. Suddenly your book is front and center in the store, and anybody that comes in looking for a book, oh, read The Hungry Ocean. I think you'll like it.
So now with your new book, with lobstering, what are you writing about? Are you writing the same way with this new book? I mean, are you having mug-ups also? Are you talking about...
I don't at this point have it broken into regular chapters and mug-ups. I don't know. That'll probably be a decision that my editor will make a little further down the line.
Is it really the life of this place, this island, this bay?
It's definitely more about the life on island. Of course, lobstering is a big part of it because the island thrives around lobstering, or doesn't thrive around lobstering.
Well, people have this glamorous view who don't fish. I mean, they come to Maine and they see the boats and they think how wonderful it would be to be a fisherman, to be captain of your own ship, all that business.
It's a very romantic idea.
That's right.
And very little of fishing is romantic. Most of it is hard work. Dirty work, stinky work.
That's right. What time do you go out in the morning, in fact?
Well, I mean, if I were a real hard-driving lobsterman, these guys leave the break of day.
Yeah, 3 o'clock.
They're getting bait aboard the boat before daylight.
Right, that's right.
I have sort of a gentleman fisherman schedule now, where I get up in the morning and I write for a few hours, and then, maybe after lunch, go haul a few lobster traps. So I'm trying to balance two worlds right now.
The book is a sequel. You see it as a sequel, don't you?
I see it as a sequel, although I don't know as it's going to be able to be marketed that way, because I think people who expect another Hungry Ocean and pick up my new book are going to be very disappointed. It's a totally different type of book.
Do they, do you read, did you do any research? I mean, have you read a lot of lobstering books about Maine?
Well, I haven't read a lot of lobstering books about Maine. I've been lobstering long enough to know the nuts and bolts of it. I've been fishing long enough to know the fishing part of it.
Right. But you're not interested in reading contemporary accounts right now?
No, it's not that I'm not interested. I have a stack of books, a mountain of books that have been sent to me to read or that I've been interested in bought, but I am a real spurt reader. I go through different phases where I read everything I can get my hands on, and when I'm writing, I don't read it. I can barely get myself to read the back of the cereal box. One, I'm just not interested in reading anything right now. I think the other is a fear of stealing something from someone. If I read a book about lobstering right now and said, oh, but I wrote about that, then I'd feel like I'd have to take it out of my book or change it. So I'd just rather write my book the way I see it and not be influenced even subconsciously by anything else.
Somebody else, right. Do you use a computer when you're writing?
I do, but I write in a notebook longhand. And, I make my corrections, cross things out, put arrows, stick pages in. And when I get it the way I like it in the notebook, then I take the time to type it into the computer. I'm very slow typing. It doesn't look right to me. If I've tried a couple of times. I think this would be so much faster if I could compose on the computer, but it doesn't look right. I can't do it.
Okay, so is there going to be drama in this new book? I mean, the drama of everyday life as a lobster fisherman?
Well, hopefully there'll be a little bit of somebody would consider dramatic. There's going to be some humor. It's really,
Characters.
It's a totally different type of book. It's, I left home when I was barely a woman, and I came back middle-aged. Come back to so it's more about that, I think, and the complexion of the island, and how parts of it have changed and are changing, and how some things have never changed and maybe never will.
And you hope they won't, right?
Oh, I absolutely hope they won't, but I'm realistic to know that they may. Just 12 hours prior to our arrival at the dock, the last leg of our trip had carried the Hannah Boden through the Gulf of Maine. We passed by Isle Ho, too far offshore for even a glimpse of the faintest outline of the landmark, Duck Harbor Mountain. Too many miles of sea lay between the island and myself. The same miles that I have sometimes regarded as a buffer zone felt like a barricade. I have taken life and living from the sea, and have given the same back, I suppose. The complex and all-consuming ocean feeds man, but also feeds upon men. The flat calm that gently digests my troubles is capable of violent turbulence, of enough gluttony to chew up and spit out vessels of the strongest steel, often swallowing men and ships whole. The ocean, which gives so much, takes back what it needs, commanding respect and getting it from those who have seen and understand the hunger.
For more information about A Good Read, visit our website at mpbc.org. You will find transcripts of interviews, biographies of each of the authors, a complete list of their published works, and you can join me on our new online book club to share thoughts about the writers featured on this series.
Production of A Good Read on Maine PBS is made possible in part by the Verizon Foundation, supporting literacy programs and partnerships reaching adults and children across America on the web at verizonreads.net.
Exactly. So, you know, there's a little bit of a stereotype, I think, but I don't think there's a stereotypical Maine woman.
No, I don't either. No. They're highly individualistic.
Yeah, but maybe that's the thing that makes the women from Maine women, is that they are all individuals and,
that's right,
for the most part, pretty strong women.
Very strong. That's right.
Independent.
Exactly.